Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That's just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Oh, baby, live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello and good morning. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you coming out on this bright and sunny President's Day. It's not bright nor is it sunny, but it is President's Day. That is the fact. Which means that I wasn't paying close enough attention to my calendar because I actually don't have to work today, but I decided to do the show as anyway. It's just, I could just think I could be sleeping right now and you could be listening to something else. Anyway, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming in and being part of it today. We have got a jam-packed show for you this morning. Joining us here in about 12 minutes or so, we're going to be talking with Dennis Prager, founder of PragerU, host of the Dennis Prager Show, scholar, and all-around interesting cat. We're going to have a discussion with him about his big doodad, his hoedown, his, he's having a big do coming up on this Saturday over there. Up in Fairbanks at the Wedgwood Resort. They're going to be doing the luncheon, and they're also going to be doing the dinner. So they got a lunch and a dinner. It's a lot of things where you get a chance to listen to him, and then the dinner's actually got a meet and greet and a VIP thing and everything else, and that one's only limited to like 50. That's like limited to like 50 people. So it's going to be pretty intimate. Little shindig over there at the Wedgwood Resort in Fairbanks. If you want to get tickets, you got to go to alaskafamily.org. They've got all the details there for everything that you need for that. And of course, you'll be in good company. A bunch of other folks. I'm also giving away some tickets. I'm giving away some tickets to that. We're going to be, let's see, who did I pick? Debbie. I haven't sent the email yet. I got to send the email. Debbie won. And I also picked another one. I'm looking for, where is the other one? Anyway, it's all here. We'll be talking about it. We'll be talking about it more all this week. We're going to be putting the tickets. We're going to be putting the tickets out there. So, Vivian, Tawny. Tawny and Debbie. Those are the two folks that won, and it could be you today. I'm going to give away a pair of tickets today to the luncheon in Fairbanks. Now, don't forget, it's in Fairbanks. You have to go to Fairbanks or be near Fairbanks or be around Fairbanks to do it. But again, you can go out and get your tickets. It's going to be fantastic. So that's, man, I got a lot of stuff going on here this morning. That's the whole rundown, for that. But Dennis Prager will be joining us. And then in hour 2, Nick Begich, will be on for a further discussion about what's going on in the world, what's happening with his candidacy, and and more. So I'm looking forward to it with you. Let's get things going on here. What are some of the headlines that are tripping us up? Well, I see even the AP has now picked up the baton for the lack of funding issue, right? Even the AP, Becky Boer, who writes for the AP for the state of Alaska, has got an article that I was looking at this morning as I was doing news for a couple of the stations, and I was looking at this, and I'm just like, wow, even this is just. It, So, debate over school funding is dominating the Alaska legislature as districts face teacher shortages and, in some cases, multi-million-dollar deficits. Schools have cut programs, increased class size, or had teachers and administrators take on extra roles. Teacher turnover is nothing new, and Alaska isn't alone in struggling to fill positions. I mean, at least she admits that this is not strictly an Alaska problem. But the effects can be acute in high-cost, remote communities. Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy is promoting charter schools and a program that pays teachers bonuses of $5,000 to $15,000 in an attempt to keep them on the job. He questions whether simply boosting school funding will improve outcomes, but districts say inflation has taken a toll on their budgets and they don't have the resources they need. So this is the story, and it's a little bit better than what we're seeing in the ADN or in the Alaska Beacon as far as some of the commentary there about, the hue and cry of we just don't do enough for the kids and everything. But this is the story that makes it to the outside world, this AP story here. And I just, it's frustrating. I'll be honest with you. It's so frustrating to have kind of a handle on what's going on with this story and then understand how the news media and others are being manipulated in this case, how they are being told the one thing and they're refusing to dig any deeper and they're refusing to use any, what do I want to call it? Analytical thought. Any more, they just don't want to do the deep dive on it and ask further questions outside of just scratching the surface. And then we get this story, which is popped up now from Annie Berman in the ADN, which tells this very sad story. Anchorage School District plans to cut dedicated elementary art classes and health instructors, and the new plan draws concern. So the first half of the story goes on to talk about how the school district is proposing a major change on how art and health instructions are going to be delivered. They're basically going to cut all these art classes and the health classes. They're going to make teachers reapply for jobs, replace the Ignite program, which is the gifted and talented program. They're going to change that into something else. And the whole story goes on for about half of the story. It basically goes into the details of all the things that would be changed for, in the program. And it's, and the bottom line is that they would be fostering and pushing off a lot of these things that are taught by specific teachers off to the generalist teachers, now you're going to have to teach art on top of all this other kind of stuff. Okay. Well, and the whole first part of the story is the setup into the second part of the story, because the subheading in the second half of the story is only because we don't have the funding. That's it. This whole thing is a setup to justify the hue and cry and the need for more funding. School board member Andy Holloman said in an interview he hoped the public understands that what is being proposed is the result of the lack of adequate state education funding. It's not our fault. It's the state's fault. I mean, again, neglecting the fact that, as David Boyle has pointed out, that the Anchorage School District does have nearly $100 million in in funds available right now to take care of this stuff in their, in their slush fund there, in their backup, their savings account, their piggy bank, whatever you want to call it. But see, this is the thing. It's the result of the lack of adequate state funding, which puts the district in a difficult spot. Not that they have done a poor job of administering the money, not that they have done a poor job of prioritizing it, that they could have done better with what they were given. This is all due to the fact that they didn't get the adequate amount of money from the state. So don't blame me. Blame the state. This is just another ratcheting effect of creating new pain points for parents and voters and everything else, so that they know that they need to go back against the state. I mean, this is almost guaranteed to work, folks. This is almost guaranteed to work because it's worked every freaking time they've done something like this. Oh, we'll just cut the road. We'll just cut the maintenance to the roads. You don't want to give us money. We'll just stop plowing the roads. We'll just take away the art. We'll take away the music. We'll take away all the good things that are in these kids' life and put them in a hole and just, make them, not give them a chance to do anything else. And it's all your fault because you won't give us what we want. That's what it's all about. The article goes on to talk about, of course, about how, the base student allocation, it hasn't been raised since 2017, and it's been so far outpaced by inflation, and we just can't. Again, no commentary on the money that's in their accounts, how they've spent the federal dollars or done anything else, and how they just continue to want. I mean, the whole payoff for this article was right here. It's only because we don't have the money. We don't have the funding. He said he hopes the public understands that what is being proposed is a result of a lack of adequate state funding. It's not our fault. This is not on us. This is on you. This is on the state. Again, 48th and 49th in education achievement. 48th, 49th, and 50th. That's right where we're at for all the different things. We're right there hanging out at the 49th percentile. But what we really need after spending $2.7+ billion on education is a little more money being spent on education. I mean, I'm just... Okay. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right there, baby. All right, we got to go. Dennis Prager is going to be joining us here in just a minute, talking about his weekend getaway to Fairbanks. Of all places you want to go, a weekend getaway to Fairbanks in the middle of February. That I have some questions. We're going to continue. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking for my thing here. Where is my... There we go. That's what I was looking for. I need to download that. Okay. Just getting my poo in a groove. You know what I mean? Getting my stuff together here. All right. Read my DM. Somebody said DM. My DM? Somebody else's DM. What do I got? Nothing. Nope. So she must have been talking to somebody else. You talking to me? You squeeze my lamp? You ready to go? Okay, let me do my thing here. I need to get Dennis Prager on. First things first. Here we go. We're gonna give him I should turn this on to make sure that there. See, look at that. We're gonna get that right there. And dialing. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, man. This going to work? No. All right. Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
Hello, Dennis. It's Michael Dukes calling from the Michael Dukes Show.
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
Okay. I'm going to actually, unfortunately, have to recall you because for some reason my phone is not being picked up through the system real quick. I'm going to call you right back, okay?
Okay, fine.
All right. Thank you. Let me try this one more time. Damn freaking thing is pissing me off. All right. Let's try this one more time. Come on. Come on. You can do this. You can do it. For the love of God, why will you not do what you're supposed to do? There we go.
Okay, how we doing now?
Yeah, good morning, and I apologize.
Well, there's a problem. I'm hearing me back.
Oh, you're hearing you back? You shouldn't be hearing
Yeah.
you back at all. There should be mixed minus on that. Hold on a second. Let me fix that real quick because you should not be hearing you back at all. Come on. My system did an update and it's moved a bunch of stuff around. So let me. Oh, goodness. All right, we're in the. Your multi-track. Okay.
You still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I still hear me.
Do you?
Oh, no.
You do?
No, it's good.
Yeah,
no, it's good now.
I apologize. The system did an update over the weekend when I was away from it, and it moved a whole bunch of stuff around and apparently changed my mix minus. So there we go.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on board. And that means we're 30 seconds away from rejoining the radio. So did it just in time. A whole lot of dead air for everybody who is on Facebook and YouTube, but they don't care. They love waiting for us. So,
Good.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on board this morning and taking the time to talk with us. We're about to get back into it. So I will mute you out there for just a second. We will continue the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and get ready to talk to Dennis Prager. That's what we were waiting for. Here we go.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
I resent that. I really resent that. I mean, I paid that guy money to say stuff, and he has to say that? chat room with us this morning. He thinks I'm great. Of course, he has to. I think that's a contractual obligation. Let's get down to it. We've been waiting for this for a little bit. We want to talk about what's happening up in Fairbanks this weekend. I mentioned it already. We've got Dennis Prager, who is, of course, the founder of Prager U and the host of the Dennis Prager Show, all around good guy.
For having me. Looking forward to coming.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, first of all, anybody that decides to take a little jaunt to Fairbanks, you'd like to take just, I mean, of all places, Fairbanks, let's go up and enjoy a little bit of frostbite, or what's going on?
Yes, actually, I have. I have wanted since high school to experience everything possible while I'm on this earth. And I had been to the Arctic in Norway, but that was in the summer. So I saw the midnight sun. And then I decided, uh, how often am I going to experience temperatures minus something and hopefully see the northern lights?
Right.
So combining that with the ability to speak up there to a wonderful group, the Alaska Family Council, I just thought this is a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, you've picked the perfect time. Although it has warmed up slightly right now, I think that you could still experience some sub-zero temperatures, and you're going to have an excellent time while you're there. Dennis,
Good.
first of all, let me fanboy for just a minute because I am a huge fan of Prager U. First of all, on YouTube, I've been watching that since the very beginning. I've watched you guys have your struggles. I've watched your detractors come in. I've seen you being demonetized. But you have got just a tremendous crew of folks who have in the past and in the right now. I just want to say first and foremost, hats off to you for creating such a such an amazing opportunity for people to learn. What was that for you? What was it? Give us a little bit of a walkthrough on that before okay.
Not my idea. It was my dear close friend, many producer of my radio, 30 years, where listeners come with me somewhere in the world, from Antarctica to the Baltic. I mean, Africa, everywhere. So in the middle of her jokes, I've never heard him tell a joke in all the years I know him. So he comes over and he said, Dennis, I think we need Prager University. We got to get your ideas to more people. So I said, that's a great idea, Alan. And when is the Hearts game? That was my response.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. When's Pinochle playing? I mean, that's when's going. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And anyways, he said, aside from coming up with the idea, he came up with the brilliant idea of 5-minute videos. That was the amount of information one can give in 5 minutes is life changing, believe it or not.
Right.
I mean, how long did it take to read the 10 Commandments?
Right.
Less than 5 minutes.
Right.
So, and 700 of them. They come out every week on every subject except the natural sciences. I mean, we don't put out anything on chemistry or botany,
Right.
but everything else in life. And we're up to 1 billion views a year. 65% of those who watch our stuff are under the age of 35. This is Google itself that revealed this. and it's probably the law.
Yeah.
And they hate us because now uh, various governors in various states have said we'd like people to use your kids' videos. That's a separate division. We have Prager Kids, and they want to use those in schools, and that has been attacked by the New York Times, the Washington Post, NPR, CBS, ABC, NBC. I mean,
Of
they're
course.
livid.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
That kids should hear 5 minutes that is not left wing. It shows you how insecure they are. We're not insecure. If we had a conservative school somewhere, if I ran one, I would want them to see left wing video.
Right.
I not only wouldn't ban it, I'd want them to see it. But they know. That's the reason there are riots sometimes when conservative speakers come to college campuses. Deep down, they know we can undo their entire propaganda machine.
Right. They're afraid
And
for a
even
reason. Yeah, they're afraid for a reason because they know.
That's good. That's a great line.
Right.
Yes.
People could hear the truth. I mean, there's a thin line of truth through everything that I think a lot of conservative common sense people have put out there, and people who've been indoctrinated for years in that kind of that liberal mentality, they will hear that thin refrain of truth in the background and they'll be like, wait a second, I'm gonna make a mistake. And that's what they really don't want to have happen. They don't want people thinking for themselves.
That's right. I mean, it's when somebody hears, please understand, a man cannot become a woman. They've never heard that.
Right.
That's the reason they believe absurdity. This is not anti-any. It's just it's either true or not.
That is what the science says. A man cannot get pregnant naturally. I guess
Yeah.
you could, sure, if you want to re-engineer something with a whole bunch of stuff, anybody, but naturally it
But
just
there's
doesn't.
still women. It's still
Exactly.
not a woman.
Exactly.
It's a re-engineered man.
Exactly. So I just don't understand. I honestly went down to it. Dennis, what are you going to be speaking about this weekend? What's going to be on your heart as you come to Alaska and you look at the northern lights and the midnight, the darkness from winter, because we're definitely not getting a lot of daylight yet. What is your, what's the plan?
Well, my approach to life is to try to explain what is happening. The greatest question has always been to me, why? So I want to explain, for example, the Middle East and why what's happening now is so significant, and how this is the issue of the day, aside from the other. Well, there are many issues of the day, including, of course, college students can say the things that they say and believe the things they believe, that men can become pregnant, that America is systemically racist, that all whites are racist, that Israel is the villain in the Middle East. I mean, it is beyond a compass that is broken.
Right.
It is a compass that is engineered.
Well, what's so amazing about those kind of things is that you've got these same students who, on the one hand, going back to our previous topic, believe that a man could be a woman and that it's fine to be transgendered, or throw those people from the top of buildings. I mean, and but they're the good guys. They could paraglide in and kill Israeli citizens, and that's okay because the Israelis are the oppressors. But they would also take from the same group that these people are holding up over here. Only, a complete difference of opinion, this dichotomy of these two different beliefs. How can you hold that in your head at the same time and be like, I support this, but then I support this? But wait, they shoot each other. I don't understand.
How do feminist groups not defend women against men coming into their athletics?
Yeah,
I mean, they're
absolutely.
supposed to defend women. That's their job.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is a hoax. I've known this all. Feminism overwhelmingly has just been another left-wing movement. It is as interested in protecting women as communists were in protecting workers. Every left-wing group uses the group to get ahead, to gain power, but it's not really committed to the group. It's a it, when one fully understands that. How do you have queers for Palestine? How is that possible?
Right.
When the only Pride Day is in Tel Aviv, in the Middle East.
Do that. And I found that amazing. This is the same kind of thing where people were like, "Oh, we support communism and all these things," but communism also treats, all these different identities and the genders and the sexual orientations. They're treated very poorly, but yet all these people still embrace it as this is the way to be. I mean, why don't you just march yourself into the desert at that point if that's what you want to do? These people would
Well,
not like you.
we are marching into the desert.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Dennis Prager is our guest. He is the founder of PragerU and, of course, the host of the Dennis Prager Show. And, of course, he's coming up to Fairbanks this weekend at the Wedgwood Resort. He's got a luncheon. He's got a dinner. The luncheon is kind of broad and wide open, but the dinner is going to be it's going to be very intimate. Only 50 people will be at the dinner, and you'll get a chance for meet and greet, shake hands, and photo ops and things like that with Dennis. The Middle East is Dennis has said that's going to be a big part of his topic this weekend. Obviously, many people are worried, Dennis. There's been a lot of talk, and I think even Drudge the other day said something like we're all on the verge of World War III and everything else between the Ukraine and what's going on in Israel and Gaza. What's the hope for people out there before I let you go? What's the hope for people out there as they watch this kind of stuff unfold? What should they be paying attention to? What should they be doing?
The answer to having peace is strength. When America is perceived as weak, the world crumbles. I asked one of the greatest living historians, Neil Ferguson, at the Hoover Institution at Stanford, formerly at Harvard. I asked him on my radio show a year ago, would Trump have invaded Ukraine would Putin have invaded Ukraine if Trump were president? And there was the smallest measurable period of time between my question and his answer. No. That, that the world American president not like him because
Right.
bad guys operate when there's no fear. And I'm not sure that Hamas would have done what it did if Trump were president. I think they might have feared him, but nobody fears Joe Biden except half of America.
I was just going to say, I fear Joe Biden based on the.
Yeah,
What was that?
that's right.
I mean, this guy mumbling in his oatmeal. I mean, it just like, what the heck is going on with that? A strong America is important, and I agree with you that is, we definitely need to have a strength. I guess the question is, do we need at the same time? Do you think that we need to be? How do I want to put this? Somebody call it the world's policeman. I mean, do we need to be putting out fires on foreign shores, or should we be focusing more at home? Or is that?
Well, I look, we could have asked that question at any time. I always
Sure.
use the Korean War as an example.
Sure.
America had a lot of issues at home. If I'm a religious individual, I don't think that if you are the strongest person on the block and there's a mugger beating up an old lady, that you can say, I'm sorry, I have a lot of my own problems. I don't give a
Right.
damn about that woman.
Right.
Yes, I have advocated, yes, to a certain extent. If the America is not the world's policeman, then who will be? The United Nations? Somebody will be. Will it be China? Is it
Right.
in America's
Right.
interest to be the uh, uh, an uninvolved nation on Earth? Now, you have to pick and choose. You can't enter every battle. I'm not going to invade China because of the Uyghurs, which is a tragic thing that they're doing there, or because of Tibet and a
Right.
horrible thing that they have done there. But there's a middle road between isolationism and getting involved everywhere. We still have troops in Japan and Germany. Look at how the world, and those countries have thrived.
No, I mean you make a prime you make a good example there of the bully on the block, because you're right. If it's not us, then who would it be? And if it was somebody like China that was stepping up, eventually that would lead to a showdown anyway. So we might as well
That's
step
right.
out. We might as well step out
Yes,
first, right?
right. And there is. I said I'm a religious person because there's a biblical law. You cannot stand by the bloodshed of your neighbor. I mean, I take that stuff seriously.
Right. No, I would agree with that. Dennis Prager is our guest. Prager, Dennis, are you able to stick with us for a little bit, or you have to go now? I didn't ask on your
Yeah,
time frame.
I have to head to my own
Yep.
show. Yeah,
You got to go do your own show. Well, that's
right.
understandable for you. You got
But
millions.
it's been a joy. I really look forward to meeting folks in Fairbanks.
It'll be fantastic. I look forward to, and hopefully one of these days you'll get down to Anchorage too, because the folks down here are a little like, ooh, they're a little bummed out. So anytime in the near
Thank you.
future. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate you coming on board and
All
joining
right.
us today. I appreciate that. Dennis Prager, that leaves us right up to the edge of the break. We got to go. So we're going to continue. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share. Yeah, it would have been nice to have more time with him, but he's literally on his way to his own show. So can't hold him up. Can't hold him up too much. Liberty based free thinking radio.
We're a series of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Oh, well, that was unfortunately stressful. What the heck, man? I saw that it had done an update. I did not realize that it had done all the painful things and then changed a bunch of stuff at the same time. So, and then the internet decided today that it's just going to poop the bed. Just, your connection is unstable is what it keeps telling me. Try plugging it into a router if you're on Wi-Fi. I'm directly plugged into the router. Are you kidding me? All right. It's just pissing me off. And now I can't get the little thing to close where it talks about the stupid thing. I'm going back to bed. I'll just be honest with you. As soon as this show is over, I'm going back to bed because ain't nobody got time today. I should just reschedule it all. Okay. I need to throw some tickets out there. For Prager or for the Dennis Prager. Okay. All right. Well, I'm afraid to do anything on the internet while I'm on the show because, I mean, at this point, everything is just like I open an email and everything starts, and StreamYard keeps telling me that it wants to crash. Like it's wait, and I just lost all the comments. There we go. Now they're I just so I don't know. See, page is unresponsive. I'm about to be. Your mic is open, Mike. Yeah, I know it's open. I'm grumbling. I'm not just grumbling. Today is it's pissing me off, man. I was really looking forward to that. Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm about to hit exit page and reload. I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds for pro tip, it said as I loaded in. Plugging into the internet is much better than Wi-Fi. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I don't know. I am grumpy. Hi, I'm grumpy. How are you? All right, we're about 90 seconds out, ready to go. What have you guys been saying? I can't even. Oh, there we go. There we could scroll backwards. The far left is a petulant child who can't behave. Dang, I wish you had more time with Dennis Prager. I mean, I'll see if I can get him back on here in the near future. I got contact info for him now. Well, I mean, I've got his phone number. Oh my gosh. Go back to dial-up. Good morning. Chose sleep because I'm off today, says Cindy. Yeah, so am I. I'm off today. Why did I not just choose sleep and put in a best? Why didn't I don't know. It was a mistake. That's what I'm saying right now. It was a mistake. The internet hates us all today. The internet hates us all. All right, here we go. Getting ready to do it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. No idea what I'm going to talk about, but we'll figure something out. Here we go. You ready? Ready. 4, 3, 2. Okay, welcome back to the program. Wow, everybody's been a train wreck this morning. I mean, of all the days to have technical issues and everything else, I'm a little bummed because I was struggling. We got Dennis Prager on, But the whole time before we came live on the air, we were having some technical issues and some feedback and problems. And anyway, this is what happens when you run the whole show by yourself without an engineer. Sometimes you get caught up in trying to do engineering things on the air while you're going, and it really it brings the experience down. Let's just put it that way. It's bringing me down, man, bringing me down. Anyway, we've got one final segment here. I just looked over, and actually Nick Begich is already in the chat room. Boy, he's a glutton for punishment. He wants in early this morning to bring in wants to take on the pain. Nick Begich is going to be joining us here. I'm going to bring him on early because he's already in there. Let's give him a minute to have some coffee. Maybe he just wanted to kind of get ready. I hate to just dish it out to him, first things first. He shows up 10 minutes early. That means I go to him 10 minutes early, instead of just hanging out. There is one other story though that I did want to hit on here, that I found interesting, because this whole thing with, and I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to this, but the Anchorage Assembly has decided to get involved in this issue with the Eklutna Dam, the Eklutna hydroelectric project. Now, the federal government sold the Eklutna Dam to the utilities, to three South Central utilities, Chugach, Matsu Electric, and the Anchorage Hydropower Utility. They sold it to them back in 1991. And at the time, they set out an agreement that said that they were required to mitigate impacts of the earthen dam, that they dried up about 12 miles of the Eklutna River. They dried up a big chunk of it since it was built by the federal government in 1955. And so the utilities moved forward and decided, okay, here's what we're going to do to fix this. Well, the Assembly came out with a resolution opposing that earlier this month. They said, "Oh, no, you can't do that." But the three, what I love about this is that it was a resolution, and the Assembly members, they're citing concerns over impacts to the city's drinking water and the impacts to the cost of the ratepayers and the property taxpayers, like they've ever cared about property taxpayers. But on Monday, the three utilities came back with an 8-page letter and basically said, we see no path to pause the process required under the 1991 agreement without liability. Accordingly, we will not delay the implementation of the Fish and Wildlife Program for 2 years in order to perform additional analysis, consultations, or considerations. That's what the city wanted. They wanted to do that whole thing. And the vice chair, Meg Zalatel, said in a written statement, it's unfortunate that the utilities won't do the reasonable thing and take a pause. Yeah, but the problem is, this is what I love about politicians. It's unfortunate that they won't do the reasonable thing. No, they're doing the legal thing. They're doing the legal thing because the agreement has no provision for them to pause at all. But no, we're just... Anyway, it's just, I love how they're going to come out here and they're basically like, oh, we want you to remove the hydroelectric dam. That's the next phase. The village of Eklutna and the assembly leaders and other organizations have proposed the total removal of the dam over the next 10 years, but only after replacing sources of renewable energy are created. Good luck with that. Good luck finding something that will produce as much energy for the right amount of cost that you would get from a hydroelectric dam. It just doesn't. It's a Monday, man. It's a Monday. I just get so agitated by that stuff. All right. Okay. We are ready to go here. We've got things happening, and there's a big day today at the Alaska House, the omnibus education bill. And of course, that's SB 140 is going to be up for vote, and HJR 7, the constitutionalizing of the PFD, also up in front of the committees. So we're ready to go. So get your speaking cap on and go out there and make some noise and do what you need to do. All right, we got about 2 minutes here. We're going to do a quick hit with Nick Begich because he's right there. We're going to get a little tease for what's he ready to talk about this morning and see what's going on. Hello, my friend, how are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
No complaints. No complaints.
No complaints.
I've been complaining for 10 minutes, but no complaints other than that.
You can file your complaint with the complaint department.
Yes, exactly. On a double page form, carbon copy. CC. Nick, we're coming up on the top of the hour break here. We're gonna. Oh, you're jumping. I'm getting a bad echo from you. We're gonna jump in and talk about it. But what's on your mind for today? What are the big hot things that have got Nick Begich going on this morning?
Well, I'll tell you, we've been traveling a lot. We just got back from Ketchikan, and I actually got in around midnight from Ketchikan. We were up in Fairbanks just prior to that. So we've been all over the state. We've been meeting people, talking about local issues and what's happening in the various regions of our state. And I'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about some national politics and some developments on our campaign. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about cryptocurrency if you want to jump into that topic this morning.
Oh man, you're going to go into the deep end of the pool. Oh, the deep end of the pool. This is where we nerd out about something that's interesting. Specifically, the fact that the federal government is now trying to get into the crypto game, and I don't. I have questions. About that. All right. Well, Nick Begich, thanks for giving us this quick hit here. We're going to continue with him here. I'll pull him back into the green room. We're going to jump in with him here in just a second. If you'd like, you can sound off and share with us over here in the chat room. If you missed it, we just finished up here a few minutes ago with Dennis Prager from Prager U and the Dennis Prager Show. He was on the show here just a little bit ago, and we've got that'll be up and available via podcast. I suggest you listen to it on the podcast today because apparently the internet, I don't know, the Facebook and YouTube apparently knew that I was having Dennis Prager on, and they threw a hitch in my get along there. So we didn't. It wasn't very smooth. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't very smooth. All right, we got to go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Nick Begich going to be with us in hour 2. We will continue and be back in just a moment. Don't miss anything. Join us on Facebook if you'd like, facebook.com/Michael Duke Show /live. We'll be back right after this. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Nick's the only reason I'm here. I would have called this thing off on Friday at this point. Nick and Dennis are the only 2 reasons I'm here. When I realized that I had accidentally forgotten that I was off today because of President's Day, I was like, well, I could have just sleep in, but oh no, I already got stuff commitment. I should have just stayed in bed today. Is the internet any better now? I mean, I've shut about, I don't know. How do you buy the fastest internet available commercially, whatever, 2 gigabits per second, and I can't keep a constant upload of... I have questions. Thanks for taking one for the team, Michael. Says the woman who slept in this morning because she didn't have to work. Right? Is that what you said earlier? That you're welcome. You're welcome for taking one for the team. Oh, nothing better than sleeping in on a day that you know you can. Nothing worse than sleeping in on a day that you shouldn't have. Right? It's the whole thing. Oh man. Yes, the internet's better. Okay. While I'm waiting for you guys here, Debbie Seeger, you have won. Who else has won? Vivian, you have won. And Tawny Booth, you have won. You guys all got tickets to Prager. Okay? So there you go. I'll be sending you emails shortly. You can all go watch Dennis Prager in Fairbanks. I mean, I thought about it. I literally thought about driving up to Fairbanks, but then I came to my senses because, Fairbanks. I have to go there enough as it is. I love Fairbanks. Don't get me wrong, but I love the people. But man, the just the whole weather, the geography, just all of it. I go up there for 3 or 4 days, and then I'm like, well, I remember why I left. It's like one of those things. I go up and see my parents. I see all my friends. I enjoy that part, and then I'm like, oh, I remember why I left here. Oh, okay. Randy is going on and on and on and on about enshrining the PFD because Randy has a conceptual misunderstanding of what the PFD is. Just let him go. Just don't, he just doesn't get it, guys. He just doesn't get it. It's fine. It's just fine. Fine. Just fine. All right. Where are we at? We're 3 minutes out. I got Nick in the chat room. I'm not gonna in the green room. Just you guys are bad. You guys stop. Just stop. I didn't drink any coffee this morning because I thought I might be going back to bed, and maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have had some coffee this morning because I was going to go take a nap as soon as this is over. But there you go. Kevin has given us some education here on how the bills work and what's going on with SB 140. There is no testimony on SB 140 today because it's on the floor. But after the House, SB will have to go back to the Senate floor for concurrence. They're likely not to concur, and then it'll go to conference committee. So that's a thing. But HJR 7, I think, is up for public testimony today, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that is up for public testimony today, which would be a good thing. Contrary to what Randy's saying, it would be a great thing because it would constitutionalize the mandate that they must pay a PFD according to the statute instead of allowing them to continue to ignore the law. I mean, what's the whole point? Why have laws if we're just going to ignore them? Well, it's because we're the legislature. We're the legislative branch. One rule for me, another for thee. We've seen that. We've seen that. What was the John Fund book where he talks about every member of Congress who goes in as making $50,000 a year and comes out a multimillionaire? How does that work? One rule for thee and another for me. That's how that works right there. You think HJR 7 is on the floor too? Oh, I thought it was up for testimony, didn't it? All right. Well, somebody will straighten me out. Yeah, it's a Monday, and I don't care. I'm wrong. They're just both up. No public testimony on HJR 7 today, says Ben. It's just up for a vote. So, good luck. Good luck, partner. Let's hope that it comes through. Rather than have the leftover process where all we get is what's left over, let's have an actual formula of what's happening here. Okay. So, that's 60 seconds gone right now. We're ready to go. We're going to jump into it. Nick's ready. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's do this thing. Like and share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. There's a reason both are on the floor at the same time, says Ben. That's a hint. Sorry, I just saw that. There's a hint there as to why they're both on the floor at the same. So you got HJR 7 and SB 140. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting. All right, here we go. We're going to jump back into it right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning and welcome back to the program. Hour 2 of the big radio show for this Monday edition, President's Day, where we celebrate dead presidents. That's just how it works around here. We're ready to go here. We're jumping into it. We finished up Dennis Prager from PragerU and the Dennis Prager Show was on the program last hour. He'll also be in Fairbanks this weekend on Saturday. He's going to be coming up to the Wedgwood Resort for a luncheon lecture at 11:30 on Saturday. Tickets for that are just $75. And then later Saturday night, there's going to be a private reception and dinner at the Antique Auto Museum. That's going to be a cozy little soiree, though. Only 50 people. They only have 50 tickets on that total. So you may want to go get your tickets real quick. They're available over at akfamily.org from the Alaska Family Council. So again, dinner tickets and more. I am going to be giving away another set of tickets at the end of the show today. I haven't decided how I'm going to do it yet, but I will decide before the end of the show today how I'm going to do it. And so you can do that. You have to be able to follow instructions. That's the one challenge to that whole thing. Speaking of people who follow instructions, Nick Begich was capable of coming on here all by himself without help. I mean, I think I had enough problems this morning for everybody. And here we go. Nick Begich joins us this morning. He comes on board to talk about his campaign and run for the U.S. Congress and more. Hello, my friend. What's happening this morning? How are you doing?
Good morning. I did not need an engineer this morning. We were able to figure this out. So
you did not need an engineer. I did. I needed an engineer this morning. Nobody tells. You know what? You should always set your equipment to not auto update. Let me just say that right off the bat. You should always make sure that you turn off automatic updates so it doesn't do it at the most inopportune time. That's kind of how we're going on this morning. All right, Nick. Well, let's get started. With today, Nick's going to be joining us every couple weeks from now until Election Day. Why? Well, because I want Nick to win. We'll give the others opportunities. If Nancy Dahlstrom wants to come on the program and talk, I have questions about election integrity and some other things that I'd like to talk to her about. So that'd be a perfect opportunity if she wants to come on board. And if Mary Peltola wants to come on board, come on down. We have questions. I doubt it's going to happen, though. That's fine. Anyway, Nick Begich joins us. Nick, so where do we want to start today? You got some things you want to talk about. Let's get
we've been traveling a lot. We've been traveling the state. For those who are involved in politics at the local level, you may be aware that the Republican Party tends to have around this time of year a number of Lincoln Day dinners, and so you'll get Lincoln Day dinners in various parts of the state. And we were fortunate to go up to Fairbanks to the Lincoln Day dinner up there. And it was great. We had great turnout. One of the interesting things that happened has been reported in some of the press. Actually, President Trump dialed in to the Lincoln Day dinner and addressed the crowd there. It was actually 11:30 p.m. East Coast time, and he dialed in live, which was pretty incredible by itself, but also incredible in the sense that this was the same day that he had been fined by a New York judge over $300 million. And he was upbeat, he was positive, he was encouraging the people of Alaska. And so that was really surprising. I don't know how this guy does it. He must be made of hardened steel to put up with the things that he goes through on a daily basis. But he was positive and encouraging to the folks there. So right after that, hustled out to the airport, got to bed around midnight, woke up at 4:30 the next morning to catch a plane to go down to Ketchikan, where I was a speaker down at their Ketchikan Lincoln Day dinner. And we had a great time, great turnout. Folks very excited and very focused on the race coming up later this year.
And getting around to all these different areas around the state, you've put some mileage on yourself, buddy. You got some, I understand you got some frequent flyer miles being racked up right now.
Oh, I do. I think it's a little crazy. There's a lot of miles that have been put on. We win in November. There's gonna be a lot more miles. I'll tell you that. One time, this is what was told to me. I wasn't able to verify, but Don Young reportedly had more than 2 million Alaska airline miles and another million on Delta, actual flight miles over the lifetime.
That's a lot. That's a lot of miles. Baby. That's a lot of miles for sure. Absolutely. And that's what happens when you would be the congressman for all Alaska. You got to be across the state in every way and every place out there. So what's your next, where are you going next? You've got more things happening. What's your itinerary look like?
We do. We're going to be on the Kenai. I know we've got an event that has just, that's just being put together right now down in Homer, on, I believe, March 1st. And so I know it's hard to believe, but that's right around the corner. We've been doing coffees and meet and greets around the state. We want people to come out and have a conversation. If there are issues that you're concerned about, if you've got questions about policy, if you want to just discuss, something, you say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Here's what I believe we need to be doing. Just check out our Facebook page. We've got a very active Facebook page that shows where we're going to be. And, I want to hear from folks. I want to hear directly from folks about what they think the opportunities for the state are and, how we get there.
Let's talk for a minute about, I guess I would say it's the elephant in the room, but it's the ranked choice voting issue. Because that was really, that's why we're having this conversation right now, right? Is because of the ranked choice voting. With the jungle primary attached to the front of it and everything else. What's going to happen in your mind as you look at this? And I know that you've been quoted as saying, if you don't get the majority of the votes in the jungle, that you won't be a spoiler, you'll pull back out, do that kind of thing. So give me your rundown and thoughts here on the jungle primary and ranked choice voting as it is going to affect this upcoming election.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's something we're going to continue to talk about during the campaign. And you're right. I want to be clear. Whoever finishes ahead of the other, it's my view, they should stay in the race and the others get out. We got to learn from what happened last time. And I tell folks this. Yes, I understand that a lot of the folks on the left say that they really love ranked choice voting. But if they really loved ranked choice voting, they'd run 3 or 4 candidates on their side of the aisle in this race. They're only running one. So let's be clear. The folks that are participating in ranked choice voting are on the right side of the aisle here. The left is not doing this, right?
Right.
Why? Because it allows their candidate to run a message that sounds very moderate. They don't have to talk to their progressive base. They talk to moderates, right? And so you'll continue to see this moderately sounding message coming out of the Peltola campaign. And on the Republican side of the aisle, on the right side of the aisle, right now, we're having a conversation with conservatives, which we should have, but we're going to have an opportunity to speak to, the center of the state as well, or we're going to see a Democrat in this office again. And so that's one of the challenges with ranked choice voting. And under this structure, we have a jungle primary, but we really delay that primary decision all the way into the final election day, unless we on the right decide that we're going to have our own primary and enforce that ourselves. So that's my commitment. And I hope that makes sense to folks as to why ranked choice voting is fundamentally flawed in that it can be gamed by one side of the aisle or another.
Right. Well, and it has that the dilution effect on the side that has multiple candidates. You end up with, running from the same philosophical bent. You end up with this dilution effect of everybody shotgunning it and voting it for everybody. And yet the one candidate that is on in this case, the progressive side gets the votes and even moderates or, Murkowski moderates can vote for the Democrat without pause, because they know that the rest of it's going to get all, confused between three other candidates. That's what we had this last time.
That's right. It gets gummed up, and of course you've got this effect as well, which doesn't make it any easier for us. You've got ballot exhaustion, where you got folks that come in, they say, hey, you can't make me vote for more than one, or there's a reason why I'm only going to vote for one, and that's your right under ranked choice voting. But when that happens, if your candidate doesn't advance to the next round, well, your vote stops counting, which I think is a clear problem with ranked choice voting. But it's let me tell you something. It's by the designers a feature, not a bug.
Right. Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
they know that it disenfranchises a certain component, and they're okay with that. The more complicated the rules, says Senator Rob Myers, the more chance the insiders have to game the system. And
Well said.
that's an exact truth, by the way. I guess I should have started the show with a big congratulations, because you did pick up a nice endorsement earlier or late last week, mid last week, a big one. I played it live on the air. You got the big nod from Vivek Ramaswamy.
That was huge. And I'll tell you, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Vivek. He is extraordinarily articulate. I don't know that we've seen someone with his ability to articulate the America First message. He really he surprised folks, because for most of America, he came out of nowhere and was able to advance a very defensible intellectual argument for why we need to change fundamental policy in this country. And that's what we're going to need. We're going to need, I believe, a new crop of leadership across the board in this next Congress, in order to ensure that we're putting the people of America first, that we're addressing some of the more complex issues that are on the forefront. Things like AI. What are we going to do about that? Right. For folks that were paying attention this week,
Right.
And if you haven't seen it, go out to Twitter, go out to some of these other platforms. You'll see now they have text to video AI. That means that you can tell AI what you'd like to see, and it will create video, not just images. Now we're talking about video that looks really compelling. And in some cases, you cannot tell the difference between the video that's generated and reality. So we're moving headlong into a sort of 1984 potential when it comes to AI, and we need people that understand it, aren't afraid to talk about it, and can work through the implications to the rest of our society as this technology rolls out. So there's a lot of those sorts of things. There's cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and a number of other technologies that are important and interesting, but have real world impacts on the rest of us if we don't
Right.
have the right people in Congress that understand this stuff.
Well, and we always play the one, but it's like this, it's the Ted Stevens. It's a series of tubes, we just, the whole thing where they don't understand. I mean, these politicians don't understand much about anything. They make laws about guns, but they have no idea. They think a barrel shroud is the shoulder thing that goes up. I mean, but they're making laws and restricting things on this. Do you think that they even understand things like cryptocurrency? Do they even understand peer-to-peer? Do they understand AI? Do they understand any of this stuff?
I think there are a few who do, but I think most don't. And part of the problem is, we can get back to this idea of term limits. We need to be refreshing the knowledge base inside the Congress on a regular basis. And there's a role for experience, and there's a role for fresh perspective as well. And
Yeah.
so, when we incentivize people to be there for 30, 40, 50 years, yes, you gain wisdom. I'm not going to say that that's not true, but you miss out on a lot of the new, fresh perspective, and some of that's going to be really important because the rate of technological change is accelerating. Right? You think
Right.
it's been crazy over the last 20 years. We may have more change in the next 10 years as we've had in the last 50 combined.
Right.
That's
No,
what's really
absolutely.
important.
It's
Yeah.
accelerating. It's accelerating rapidly, and I think it's just going to get bigger. Nick Begich is our guest. We're coming up on it right now. In fact, we got to go. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. You can like and share, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube if you want to come out and join us there, on Facebook, on Twitch. You can listen right on your radio where you're at right now. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. We'll be back with more here in just a moment. Nick Begich will continue with us. Back with more right after these messages.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
It's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. That's how it is. Just kind of, hold on. I had my ID. What was that, Nick?
It is a little hard to explain.
Yeah, a series of tubes.
Yeah.
Series of tubes.
Right.
But that's, and we joke about that, but that's, but the bottom line is that that's the problem, is that we've got people who are making laws about things that they fundamentally don't understand.
That's 100% true. Yeah, and part of the problem is that because they don't understand, they're able to be guided by lifetime bureaucrats regarding policy, right? And these bureaucrats have their own set of incentives and motivations, and they tend toward control. They tend to they tend to deprioritize the individual and the individual's freedoms, and centralize control, increase surveillance, and reduce personal liberty as a result of those policies. And so that's part of the reason why it's so important to ensure that the people that we elect understand the underlying technology and its implications, because otherwise they're going to be led by the nose by the bureaucratic state in ways that actually diminish our way of life and our freedoms in this country.
Right. I mean, that's the big change is, every time we talk about term limits and things like that, the problem is that we don't have bureaucracy limits, because if you start changing out the legislators at a rapid pace, they don't have enough time. They then become subject to the whim of the bureaucrat who's been there for 20 years and knows how to play the system and has an agenda of their own, kind of thing. So, yeah, I think that there should be some kind of reshuffling of some of this stuff. If you reshuffle one, you probably should reshuffle the other.
I agree.
So that would be great. I'm just going back here. Joel asks, what is your plan to defeat Nancy Dahlstrom at the polls, in the primary and in the general, I guess, with the ranked choice voting?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a little bit of an issue with the way the question is framed. My goal is not to beat Nancy Dahlstrom. My goal is to beat Mary Peltola. Right. So let's be clear about what the objective is. I believe that Mary Peltola, while she's a very nice person, she represents the state of Alaska in a very negative way. She votes with Nancy Pelosi 90% of the time. That's an actual statistic, 90% of the time. And look, I don't believe that Alaskans intended to elect 90% of Nancy Pelosi to be our representative. But
Nancy
that's
Pelosi Light is what we call that's the
Nancy
trademark.
Light.
Nancy
Yeah,
Light,
we didn't intend to do that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Alaskans want a 90% Nancy Pelosi to represent us in Congress. And so that's my focus. I'm not focused on other candidates in this race right now. I'm focused on Mary Peltola, making sure people understand her policies and the differences between her policies and mine, and how we would vote differently in the Congress and represent our state differently in the Congress. One of the things that that we talked a lot about in Ketchikan is not just the policies, but also the way in which that single representative in the House represents Alaska. Remember, there's 435 representatives in the United States House, but Alaska only has one voice in that House. And you can't be a backbencher and get anything done for this state in that body.
right.
You're going to have to be tough. You're going to have to throw elbows. You're going to have to be loud and belligerent and do things that irritate people. But let me tell you, those are things that we loved about Don Young, right? Whenever you thought about Don Young, he understood what he needed to do in that body in order to try to get things done for our state. You can't be a go along to get along person. You got to be tough. And I don't think we have that right now. I want to be that person for the state.
I definitely do not have that in this right now. I don't think it's very much a go along to get along. You don't see anybody making any waves right now. All right, Nick Begich, our guest. We're going to continue here, the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. Let's go. Here we go. Jumping back in. Oh, I hate it when I do that. I missed it by 3 seconds. Here we go. 1, 2.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Nope, not your daddy. I got enough kids. I don't need any more. I'm not your daddy. Although my daddy's in the chat room hanging out with us, doing his thing. Hi, Dad. How you doing? I always say that. Nick Begich is our guest, candidate for U.S. House, and we continue now. During the break, somebody asked Nick about how he plans on defeating his opponent, Nancy Dahlstrom, and I thought you had a very good answer to that. This really wasn't about defeating Nancy. Your focus is all on Mary Peltola. So tell us about that.
That's right. Nancy Dahlstrom is another candidate in this race. There could be many others that ultimately get into the race. The filing deadline is actually not until June 1st. So, but my focus from day one has been on getting Mary Peltola out of that seat. Okay. Why? Because, look, she's voting with Nancy Pelosi 90% of the time. She's endorsed Joe Biden. Are these things that Alaskans want? I don't believe so. I know that Alaska does not support Joe Biden. They will not vote for him for president. I know that Alaskans didn't intend to put someone in Congress who's a 90% Pelosi. And I hear a lot about the legacy of Don Young. Sometimes I hear about this from Peltola's campaign, as you probably do too. And you see these claims, and let me tell you, Don Young did not vote with Nancy Pelosi 90% of the time. Don Young would never, and did not, in 2016, by the way, support Joe Biden for president. And Joe Biden was someone who came in the same year as Don Young in 1973. So, I think that we've had an opportunity to learn about Mary Peltola, her priorities. We've seen how she votes in the Congress. Time to make a change. So my focus is not on other Republicans or other candidates. My focus is on Mary Peltola, making sure that we move her gracefully out of the seat and we restore Alaska's conservative representation in DC. One of the things that I think is really important to understand is that there are 435 representatives in the United States House, but Alaska only has one representative in that body. Imagine being in a room of 435 people and you're just one person. How are you going to get their attention? How are you going to become their priority? Are you going to do it by being nice, and sitting back and going along to getting along. No, you're not. I promise you, you won't. You're going to have to throw some elbows. You're going to have to get tough. You're going to have to do some things that ruffle feathers. That's part of the process. And I will tell you that whether you like Don Young, you didn't like Don Young, he did those things. He was tough. He knew how to engage the public and how to move legislation. That's what we need. We don't need someone who maybe has a nice smile, but is just going to vote yes all the time. Is going to go along with Nancy Pelosi every time. That's
No.
not going to get it done for our state.
You could say a lot of things about Don Young, but quiet and demure, he was not. I mean, he would get in there. We talked a little bit about the ranked choice voting and the other side, on the first segment. And people are asking questions about, well, like, why did somebody so-and-so jump in the race? Don't they know that this is, again, it's working as intended. It's meant to be divisive. I mean, this whole thing with ranked choice is good for a certain slice of the population, but for the rest of them, people just, if they don't understand how it works, they end up really kind of shooting themselves on the foot in it, right?
It is true. The system, it's promoted, and it's been promoted as a way to moderate politics.
Right. Make it more moderate, more middle ground.
Yeah, but it really doesn't. In fact, it has the exact opposite effect on politics. And the reason that it has, and we talked about this in the last segment, the reason that it has the exact opposite effect is because in our ranked choice voting system in Alaska, you're actually delaying what was previously a primary all the way until election day. All the way until election day, if you have more than one person on your side of the aisle, you're going to be continuing to go back and forth on the finer points of policy, but you can end up ignoring the person who has a huge level of contrast in terms of policy, which is the person on your left, right? And what I said in the last segment, I'll say it again. If the Democrats really loved ranked choice voting, they'd run 3 or 4 candidates on their side of the aisle. They don't, and they won't. They're only running one, and they're only going to run one until election day, because they understand that if they end up having to get into a fight over progressive values, they're going to lose this election, because people will understand. It will be revealed, oh my goodness, we got some people from the far left that are trying to run for this seat. So they won't do it.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is if you've got an organization or a group that is very much kumbaya, communal, kind of we'll all, it takes a village kind of thing. On the one side, they're more than willing to have just one candidate step up there. The Democrats have always been very good about that. The Republicans, on the other hand, rugged individualists, don't play well with others. I want to do my own thing, get off my lawn, kind of thing. And the next thing you know, we got 7 of them all running against each other, trying to kill and beat the crap out of each other, while one Democrat is sitting back there smoking a cigar, waiting for the smoke to clear, kind of thing. That's
exactly.
This has been happening for years, and ranked choice voting has just exacerbated it.
That's right. It is. And I as far as I know, and this is what has been told to me by the organizers of the initiative, I'm the only candidate in this race right now who has signed the petition to put this back on the ballot in front of the people. I think we need to return to the traditional system of voting, and I've signed that petition, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to voting to repeal that initiative. So.
Yeah, no, that would be super nice and a lot less confusing for most people as well. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the nation right now. I know we want to talk a little bit at the end at the final segment. We want to talk a little bit about some crypto and some other things that are going on. But let's first talk about some international issues. We've got aid for Ukraine. We've got aid for Ukraine, aid for Israel. And of course, the question on the border and all this other stuff that was going on. Where should we be at on this, Nick? I mean, the problem is we're giving more to Ukraine. Not that I'm very sympathetic to Ukraine's plight, but I'm wondering why this is all our responsibility. We're giving more to Ukraine than the entire border. I mean, we're spending more than the entire Marine Corps budget. The Marine Corps budget for a year.
Yeah, look, and I said this publicly on social media last week. I've taken a little bit of heat for it. That's okay, but I want people to understand what exactly people are being asked to do. It's not just that we're spending $60 billion, being asked to spend $60 billion. It's that we're being asked to borrow $60 billion with interest and give that money to Ukraine and to other nations. And my view is, look, I'm okay with helping it. We can debate the merits of helping other nations and the timing and all those things. I'm okay with having that debate, of course. But if those nations are not willing to take a loan from us, why should we be willing to take a loan for them?
Right.
And so when you've got $34 trillion in debt, a $2 trillion annual budget deficit, that's the amount that we're adding to the debt every year. And on top of that, we're being asked to take loans so that we can give money away. This is not smart. It's just not wise on our behalf. We need to be reversing course on this extraordinary moment of spending in our nation's history and get back to something that's a lot more balanced than what we have right now. And I think that these are the conversations we need to be having, not just as it relates to aid to other nations, but also as it relates to domestic spending priorities here. Right? I mean, you look at what's happening on the border. It's something that I know that you've talked a lot about, but folks understand that the people that are coming across illegally are then being given free housing, in some cases free healthcare, free shelter. They're given EBT cards, cell phones,
Visa cards.
Visa cards. This
$53 million pilot program in New Jersey and New York to give migrants credit cards to use to feed their family while they've got 100,000 homeless on their own. But now they're going to give, who are residents and citizens, but now they're going to give $53 million in credit cards to illegals.
That's right. Yeah, and this is where the America First message. It's very controversial if you talk to mainstream media or if you're watching mainstream media, but there should be nothing controversial about putting the people of your own country before the people of other countries. I promise you, they're not putting us first.
Right.
They're not prioritizing the needs of America. If you think that America ever was invaded and that some of these people that we're supporting today would suddenly drop everything they're doing, run up their budget deficits and come help us, that ain't going to happen. We've got to make sure that we remain strong, that we remain free, that our that our priority remains with the people that we're there to represent, the American people. And that's not a controversial idea. It's a fundamental idea that we need to get back to in this country, in my opinion.
Well, and again, when do we stop? And I asked this question earlier of Dennis Prager. I said, when do we stop? Why do we have to be the world's policeman? Now, he made a valid point that, part of it is if you're one of the biggest powers on the block and you see some other power beating up on some old lady, do you just say, well, I've got my own issues and I don't step in and do the right thing? No, I agree. We've got to fight some of those fights. But like you said, I mean, why should I borrow money to give it away if they're not willing to borrow the money themselves from us and, use it for themselves? People have gotten too used to that. It's the whole comment on the NATO thing. I don't agree with the way Trump talked about the whole NATO thing, but at the same time, he was making a valid point. If you're only spending 2% of your GDP and, we're spending, we're contributing hundreds of billions of dollars and you contributed just $1 billion or $2 billion, somebody needs to step up there.
Look, well, here's the thing. You think you're helping these people,
right,
by allowing them not to spend to the 2% minimum in NATO. You think, oh, well, they can't afford it. Are you kidding me? They can afford it. All right. They're reprioritizing their spending. They have socialized medicine in these countries. They have extraordinarily generous pension plans in these countries. I mean, if you go to France, you're going to see massive demonstrations if you try to touch their retirement age. Right? They'll burn cities down if they have to work an extra 6 months. Okay. So we're being told, oh, Social Security is gonna be out of money and only be able to pay 70% of its scheduled benefits by 2030 or 2032. This is the Congressional Budget Office telling us this, and the Social Security Administration telling us this. And yet we're continuing to spend, right? Because these folks aren't living up to their obligations under those treaties. And so, we encourage actual weakness among our allies when we do their job for them. Ukraine is not our neighbor, right? Ukraine has borders with other European nations that are not kicking in nearly at the level that we are.
NATO members, right? I mean, this is like, yeah, exactly. People who are, it's right on your doorstep.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not saying we don't help. I'm saying that we get smart. Look, this is fascinating. A lot of Alaskans do not know what I'm about to tell you, okay? When Alaska was purchased in 1867, we bought it from the Russians. Why did the Russians sell Alaska to the United States? In large part because their treasury was depleted from fighting wars. Do you know where that war was fought? Crimea, in modern day Ukraine. It's amazing how history rhymes, right? And if you're smart and you're playing geopolitics in the right ways, you can actually get something for the aid. In fact, we live in a place that was purchased because we were smarter then about how we use the public treasury. And we bought Alaska.
Yeah.
Let's be smarter. That's all I'm saying. We got to be smarter about how we're engaging the rest of the world with U.S. tax dollars.
Nick Begich is our guest. The Michael Duke Show continues. We got more coming up. We're going to do one final segment here in just a moment. We'll talk about some other national stuff and the rise of this push for a federal cryptocurrency, which problematic to say the least. We're going to have those discussions in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Nick Begich, our guest, The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Brian says, can we sell Hawaii to raise some quick cash? I mean, we might be able to, I don't know. What do you think, Nick? I mean, we could just sell it off. Little Guam, little Hawaii action, maybe sell Puerto Rico. I mean, all these hangers on, we just got to get rid of them.
Oh my gosh. It isn't it, we're not going to do that, but I will tell you this. You look at a country like Argentina. Here's a country that has wallowed in debt for an enormous amount for quite a long time. Okay. Part of the reason that they've been unable to pay their debt is because it's denominated in US dollars, much of it. And so they can't print their way out of it, unlike the United States, right? Where we can just turn on the printing press and pay the debt. They can't do that. And so it's been mentioned, and it's a reasonable thought. They could carve out part of their country, sell it to a group, turn it into another nation, do those sorts of things in order to pay off their debt. Now, not a good very long-term strategy, but it helps people out of a jam. Problem is, if you don't replace it with fundamental discipline on the fiscal side, you're going to end up right back in the same scenario.
Right.
This is why in Argentina, after many, many years of socialist leadership, who continue to say, well, we're just not socialist enough, you see a hard libertarian replace them because people have just had enough, and they're saying, look, we're going to try something different. We're going to reduce the footprint of government radically. We are going to put the private sector back to work. We are going to reduce tax burdens. We're going to open up free trade, and we're going to try something that is completely opposite from what we've been doing. I think he's going to be very successful down there.
Yeah, it was Malay. He eliminated something like 14 departments in the government, like the cultural department of. I mean, he just like gutted the whole thing, and then basically said, "We're cutting the retirement. We're cutting this. We're cutting that." The one thing he did do was that he doubled up on basically the food programs and the things so that people would be paid while this thing was changing around. But yeah, he went in there and just gutted the whole thing out. Well, he was walking around with a chainsaw during his campaign, right? Because that's what he said. I'm going to cut it out with a chainsaw. Boy, did he ever go to town. That's been an interesting thing to watch.
Location in the world where people who have had serious domestic challenges have elected what would have been considered radicals to office because they said there's nothing else that's working. You can't get there by small incremental change. For these nations, they've recognized we got to have a much different approach. Another example of that is happening down in El Salvador, right? In El Salvador, you've got the world's youngest leader was just reelected. They had a huge crime problem. I mean, it was you think we've got a crime problem in parts of this country. It was unbelievable down there. And he went out and he said, we're going to be tough on crime. We're going to round up all these people. We're going to put them in jail. And human rights organizations around the world are completely upset about this. But crime dropped dramatically in El Salvador. And it is now attracting business. It's attracting El Salvadorians who are part of a diaspora around the world, and particularly in the United States, back to their home country because things are safe again. You can do business again. Things are growing again. It's one of the fastest growing economies in the world as a result. And sometimes a significant change is what's called for. And we're getting closer to a point in this nation where that kind of radical change will be the only way out of the situation that we're in right now. I think we've still got some time to elect the right leaders who can articulate not just the America First message, but smart policies on some of the technologies that are rolling out and keep us in a leadership position and right the fiscal ship for our country, restore individual rights. We can do that, but the window is closing. Yeah. This is a critical election in 2020.
That was actually going to be my first question going back because I was doing some reading. J.D. Ducilli over at Reason Magazine recently was talking about that 20-year window. There was for a long time, they talked about the 20-year window, but that essentially it's closed down now to 10 years, that we have a 10-year window now to fix it because once you reach a certain go, no go point, the momentum of it is you can't get back from it. And
yeah, that's right.
And I think that's a huge deal, and we should talk about that as we come back before we get into the crypto issue, because I think it's something that there's hope. We can still fix it, but it's no longer 2 decades. Now we've got 10 years or less to fix it before that momentum and that mathematical formula just goes to you've gone too far.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. It's math.
Yeah,
there will be math.
Yeah, there will be math. There will be a test. And here it is. Here's what it is. All right, Nick Begich is our guest. We got one final segment coming up. We're ready to get back into it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the, things and stuff and things. Stuff and things, Lori. Sorry, that's a Walking Dead reference for those of you who don't know. We're going to do it. Here we go. Jumping back in. The Michael Duke Show. Now's the time. Okay, Nick Begich is our guest. We are about ready to jump into this with him. I was just referencing a story with Nick. J.D. Ducilli over at Reason wrote about this the other day. It's been a month or two now, I guess, the other day. It's all relative when you get old like me. But basically, that there used to be the window where they said we had a 20-year window to kind of stop the runaway spending, to stop the deficits, to turn the things around and everything else. But now, as we look at it, that window is now closing. It's no longer we have a 20-year deadline to get it done, because it reaches a certain point to where the spending and the debt have a certain momentum. And once they reach that critical mass, you can never get ahead of it. It's like a big snowball rolling downhill. Once it gets to critical, you can't get ahead of it, and it just runs away and it destroys everything because you can't spend enough to spend it down.
That's
And
right.
they're now saying that 20-year window is now shrunk to 10. Nick, you and I are in agreement on this. You've seen the same thing. I mean, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this?
Look, there's a few ways to do it, but we are absolutely running out of time. There's a reason they call it a fiscal cliff, because once you go over it, you're not going back, right?
Right.
So we are running out of time, and we're running headlong toward that cliff without even attempting to really slow down. Okay, what does that mean? So I mentioned in an earlier segment, we have $34 trillion in debt, rising by the second. Okay, but we're spending $2 trillion more as a federal government than we're taking in. Okay, so that federal that deficit gets added to the debt every year. So you go from 34 to 36 to 38 to 40, right? The problem is that it accelerates, right? So as interest rates are rising and you're in a high rate environment and that debt rolls over, you're paying more and more of your tax dollars to just not just service the debt, but just pay for the interest portion of the debt. And eventually that interest payment becomes so large that virtually all of your tax dollars just go to pay interest. And that's the moment where the whole system falls over on itself. And to just put it in perspective, today, 40% of personal income taxes, 40%, if you're a taxpayer, 40% of the money that you are paying the federal government today simply goes to interest.
Yeah.
Just interest.
Just to service the debt that we have right now. Forget
That's
about
right.
putting new stuff on. It's paying the old debt right now. It's just the interest payment on the debt, which, by the way, is greater than the defense. We spent $900 billion in debt service last year. They're already projecting $1.2 trillion in debt service this year. That's
It's
a 30.
just,
That's
it's
a 30.
outrageous. It's unsustainable. To put it in some Alaska terms, right? These are multiple PFD payments per person that are being spent on your behalf permanently, run up on the credit card.
Oh yeah. So,
I mean, yeah.
So how do we turn it? I mean, we know it's going on, right? I mean, we can all look at the number. We can all go to the U.S. debt calculator website or whatever and watch the numbers turn over and just, we know it's there, Nick. But these politicians look right in the camera and they go, "Oh, don't worry. It'll all be fine."
Yeah, it'll be fine for that person until their next election, right? And it's interesting. You've seen a lot of senior leadership in Congress retiring now. We've had multiple announced retirements by committee chairs who, and let me tell you, when you're a committee chair, you've worked hard to get there, very hard to get there. And these are people who have not finished their limited terms of being a committee chair. They're saying, "Oh, all right, I'm going to get out."
But we got to step down.
Yeah. So there are things that we can do. So let me get specific about things that we can do to address this problem. And there's no silver bullet. Let me be clear. There's not one thing that we can do that's going to fix everything. Okay, it's a multi-pronged approach. One, we've got to make sure that we get lower interest rates. Okay, we can't be paying $1 trillion plus on the national debt every year. We need to get back down to a low rate environment, and we need to make sure we're putting policymakers in place that will do that. Okay, that's otherwise this whole exercise is never going to pay off. We're never going to be able to get it to get to the finish line if we don't get some lower rates on the debt that we have. Okay, number one. Number two, we got to stop spending so much in deficit spending. I want to be clear about something because you hear it from the left. You probably hear it from campaigns in the next few months. People say, well, the problem is we're not taxing enough. We need to make those corporations pay more taxes. Let me tell you something. The corporations are not in business to lose money. So anytime you raise corporate income taxes, it eventually becomes a consumer tax through inflation. Okay, so all taxes are born at the individual level eventually. And so it turns out, though, even if you did dramatically increase taxes on the wealthy, even if you did a wealth tax where, the left is talking about taking people's money, not even as income, just harvesting cash that has already been earned and taxes have already been paid on it. There isn't enough there to pay down the national debt or even to make this financial equation box where we're not deficit spending. So you have to cut the amount of spending that is going on. There are many areas of government that have expanded far beyond their original constitutional mandate. The Department of Education is often cited. I agree. We've got to cut that back because look, the federal government uses this money as a mechanism to control the states. So not only are we spending more money than we have, but we're using it as a way to diminish state power, right? So the federal government has to get back to its original mandate. There's other things that we can do too, though. For those who have worked in government at any point in your life, you understand the budgeting process encourages you to spend money at the end of the year in order to get money next year. So if you're, let's say, $1 million under your department's budget, if you don't spend that money by the end of the fiscal year, you're not going to be able to get that money next year. And so you end up with situations where people are just buying things because, well, we need the money next year. We might need it, so we better just start spending. So we've incentivized at every level in the federal government for people to spend money that they don't need to spend. If you run a business or have been a part of a business or an employee, you recognize that's not how the real world works. You don't just go around spending money because it's the end of the year. You're spending money because it makes business sense, because there's a purpose for this, right? And so we've got to disincentivize the waste. And the way that the federal government has been set up at the bureaucratic level is incentivizes waste. So there are a lot of things that we can do. I'm sure others will have many ideas. I don't have all the ideas, but these are some fundamental things that can be done to reduce that deficit and start getting this thing under control.
This should be what every politician is talking about right now, because this is the kind of the crisis level thing that we've got going on. I mean, this is important stuff. And yet, like I said, every politician just looks straight into the camera and says, "Don't worry, it'll be fine." And I just don't understand why people aren't more up in arms about this, Nick. You got about 90 seconds here. We'll give you the final thoughts for today.
Well, look, you're absolutely right. These are the issues that you should be hearing from every person in public office or seeking public office. If they don't understand these issues, they're not going to be able to fix the problems in DC or here at home. This is critical. We are headed toward disaster, but we have a chance to fix it. The window is closing, but we've got to make sure that we have the leadership in the Congress that doesn't just intellectually understand the issues, but has the strength to be able to say, we need to make a change. Here are some concrete policies that we can put into place that will help us make that change. Because otherwise, it's just a foregone conclusion. It's just math, as we talked about. Math wins in the end. Math wins, I promise you. You can't beat math.
Yeah, you cannot cheat it. That is 100% sure. You cannot cheat math. That will not be a good thing for them. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on board, Nick. As always, it's good to talk with you. Nick Begich, our guest. We will continue a couple weeks from now. We'll have you back on. Thanks for coming on board and joining us. I appreciate that. Folks, we're out of time. The Michael Duke Show. All right, Nick. I will give you the final thoughts here. Last 2 minutes here for whatever you got going on.
We got to come back and talk about crypto. We didn't really get into that. It's amazing how fast the time goes. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, you touched on they're called central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Okay? Right. CBDCs. China's experimented with this technology. Other governments are experimenting with this technology. Places like Nigeria, where they have the fastest population growth by quantum over the next 50 years. And they're used, the mechanisms that they have baked into the underlying technologies are very concerning, because the government can say things like this: look, we noted that you bought these products, and these products create a carbon footprint that's too high. Therefore, you have met your carbon budget for the month, and we're going to restrict your travel, or we're going to restrict how much meat at the store you can buy. I mean, it becomes very Orwellian in the sense that the government extends its long hand of regulatory authority over your wallet. And
Right.
this
Right.
is one of the problems with CBDCs is you're turning over your transaction history to a government entity and saying, oh, here's everything that I do, and here's everything that I buy, and here's everything that I believe. And in fact, and this is wild, right? But Jim Jordan, just a couple of weeks ago, subpoenaed the federal government and various agencies because it turns out that they were tracking people who had made purchases of guns and Bibles. Bibles, if you can
What?
believe that. Yes.
What?
Yes. And so, because they people in these lifetime bureaucrats, they think we're the enemy. They want to know, oh goodness, well, if you bought a gun or if you bought a Bible or if you've made these other kinds of transactions, well, we want to know, right? This
Wow.
is what becomes very easily done under CBDCs, and it's why you even heard former President Trump here in the last month and a half, shortly after Iowa, mention it specifically and how he was opposed to the rollout of CBDCs in America.
It's a dangerous thing. You will give them the opportunity. I mean, Bitcoin is, they always said Bitcoin's untraceable. It's not untraceable. That's been proven. They can identify and unmask, people from multiple accounts, and eventually can track down who you are. That's with Bitcoin, which is a total privatized thing. Now you want the government to create something. You don't think they'll be tracking every dollar you spend? I mean, come on, that makes no sense whatsoever.
It is amazing. Bitcoin is an interesting asset, and it's really an asset class. But what's fascinating about Bitcoin specifically, and crypto is a big space. There's a lot of different features that all these different cryptocurrencies have, but Bitcoin specifically, it's called the hardest asset available, right? And what does that mean? It means that there's no centralized authority that can hit the print button and create a whole bunch more than is scheduled. That is almost the sole value proposition for Bitcoin, is that it is a defense mechanism against fiat currency and central banks that have the ability and willingness to print ad nauseum that fiat currency. 40% of all of the US dollars of what's called M2 money, 40% of the US dollars in circulation today were printed in just the last 4 years. Think about that. Think about how that's impacted inflation. When you have all this cash floating around the economy, of course, it's going to cost more to buy the same things. It's not like we can print beans. We can't print cars. We can't print those things. You can't digitally just materialize physical assets. So when you increase the amount of money chasing the same fixed number of goods, you're going to get inflation. That's what happens all over the world, and it has always happened with fiat currency. And that's why it's interesting when you look at some of the developments in cryptocurrency, things like Bitcoin, right? Gold was the traditional way that people defended against the tendency of governments to debase their own currency, because
Right.
it was something that we couldn't debase easily. You had to go to work and mine it and pull it out of the ground in order to actually do that. It was not as easy as putting an extra zero on a bill.
Right.
And we're falling into the same trap that every nation throughout history has fallen into, which is, hey, it turns out we can just print and there's no consequences. I guarantee you there will be consequences, and it's not going to be good.
Jesus. I mean, it's like I read Zimbabwe, Weimar Germany. I mean, if you want to see consequences, there are consequences. The only reason we haven't felt it is because we're the world reserve currency. The minute that music, the minute the music stops on that and everybody's scrambling for a chair, you best have yours.
That's right. And the challenge is we don't produce the things that we consume in this country. So if you lose the status of reserve currency and the value of our currency diminishes relative to others, our standard of living will drop significantly because we don't produce those things. The computers that we're talking through right now, all this electronic equipment, it's not built in the United States. Those chips don't generally come from the United States. The cars that we drive, even if they're made by a domestic manufacturer, the parts are being made all over the world. So because we don't produce the things that we consume, the American life is going to take a major hit if we don't defend the value of our currency. And we can't do that with this government that we've got in place right now.
This is like a deeper conversation than just for the radio, Nick. I don't know. Maybe we should do just like a standalone podcast on just the crypto, because oh man, it's so much to it.
It is.
It's amazing. All right. Well, Nick Begich, we appreciate you coming on board and joining us today. 2 weeks from today, I guess we'll dive back into this and
Looking forward to it.
get back to it. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on board. We will see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Nick Begich, our guest. That does it for today, folks. The Michael Duke Show continues. We got more tomorrow for Tuesday. And then I don't even know. Don't even know. Have a good day. Enjoy yourself. Be kind. Love one another. Live well. We'll see you then. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Bye, y'all.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
subscribe, ring the I'm grumbling.
Well,